Good evening. Good evening. So glad that you are here with me this evening. What a great day to come together. It is Good Friday, y'all. Good Friday. So it is a special time of year for those of us who are in the Christian community, faith, and I am excited that we get to enjoy this time of year. So let's get into it. I want to talk about being productive, as always, and I'm going to say this: it doesn't mean doing more things faster. It means achieving meaningful goals in every area of your life. And for me and many that I know, the way to achieve those goals is through systems and workflows, which make it easier and less overwhelming to be productive. So, tonight I'm going to share some tips with you about integrating your task management workflows and things that you can apply pretty quickly. I want to welcome you to Purposeful Productivity. I'm Florence, I'm your host, and I help you, the the professional out there, the small business owner, but I help you on this channel by sharing strategies, tips, and tricks to remove and eliminate the friction in your productivity system. So glad to have you in the building with us tonight. And if you are not commenting and you're just watching, great. I am so happy to have you here. Welcome to the live tribe. For those who are commenting, we were going to get you on screen here shortly, but welcome to the live tribe. And if you're part of the magical replay crew, welcome. Leave a comment in the comment box as you go through this material and while you're watching it, ask a question, leave your thoughts in there, how it's helping you. Let me know so that I can continue to serve you. So let's get into the content. In the last 4 weeks, we've covered 4 elements of productivity, and tonight we're going to tie all of those elements together. By way of a quick summary, last week we talked about juggling tips of juggling multiple roles and responsibilities and tasks in your life, because we all have multiple areas and multiple roles that we operate in day to day. Week before that, we talked about eliminating distractions so that you can focus and get that deep work done. The week before, we talked about making decisions quickly so that you can move forward. And we started the month off talking about mindfulness and how being mindful helps with our productivity. Tonight, I want to tie that all together by sharing with you this this thing right here. Tips for maintaining a cohesive workflow. And this is really around how you're going to get tasks completed. But before I do that, I'm going to just welcome a couple of folks in the building with us. And I'm going to say hello to Frank Jackson. Welcome to the show this evening. Glad to have you. And I'm going to say welcome to the Emotional CEO. I'm so glad to have you in the building with us as well. And we've got some other folks who will be joining and they're not commenting, so it's okay. So let's get into the very first tip, and that is developing a routine for task management. And then not only developing it, but sticking to it. What is that? It's just simply a structured approach to stand on top of your day to day activities and responsibilities. I'm not talking those one offs that come here and there. I'm talking the day to day things. And it's about creating a consistent routine that you stick to. I'm not saying be rigid. I didn't say rigid and never moving, but being consistent. That definitely will help you. And along the way tonight, I'm going to share my screen and show you some of the things that I use. And one particular, a tool that I'm using, and you've heard me say that I use OmniFocus for my task management. But I'm actually switching, and I'm going to explain to you the reason I'm switching from that, from OmniFocus. I love OmniFocus, and I love it. One of the reasons is I've used it for many years, but the other reason is because I can do many more automations with it. The tool I'm going to share tonight, I can't do as many automations just yet with it, but the things that it has in it are very valuable to me. So I'm looking to make that switch. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the first thing, and if I can get it to come up. And the application is called TickTick. I hope you can see that um, quite well. And welcome, Gretchen. Glad to have you in the building with us. And so with TickTick, it's a good all in one system, and I'm going to talk about that from this perspective. You can see your task in the Kanban format, but you can also see them. Let me get the screen so I can work with it in a. Oh, I gotta. You can see them. Oh yeah, I do have it on. You can see them in a different way. Why can't I? Why is this not letting me? Let's try something. It's not letting me move the screen. I'm not sure why. I do have a backup plan, by the way, so we're going to switch to the backup plan. One second, y'all. There's always more than one way to do this. Let's switch to this. I'm going to use the desktop version. But up here in the upper right, or any of these, you can change from a Kanban view to a regular list view. That's just one of the, so if you like that column format, you can use that. If you like linear, you can use that. And consistent meaning I have these areas of focus here. These are kind of things that I work on all the time. They don't ever end. They just sort of stay there. But I'm going to use a project, and I'm going to use producing the show as the example, because I'm using this, switching to this column style or Kanban style. So you see I've got tonight's show here in the run of show. That's because where I left off, and this is pretty consistent, and that's why I want to show you about creating this consistent routine. When I start a show, I'll start by doing research. I pick the topic and then I start doing research. Then I get my title and my description nailed down. Then I build my run of show. Now, when I'm doing the title and description and doing the research, I'm also writing, just so you know. That's the way I do it. You could have a separate step in here that says write, script, or whatever. But today I finished up, made sure, which is why I had a backup plan if my first option didn't work. When I'm finished with the show, I'm in the live stream. I'm doing the live show. I can see exactly where I am. Afterwards, if I've got edits to the video to make, I can make those and move them over. But if I'm working on this task, so you getting a little peek here, this next project, which is our live stream, which is moving my task management system from OmniFocus to TickTick, I could be doing my title and description. I can see where everything is, each show, and which step it's in consistently. And the reason, this is one of the things I loved about it, being able to make that consistent pattern that I can work with every week. And I don't have to be recreating it the way I was in OmniFocus. Even though it was automated, I click a button and it put all the steps in. I couldn't lay it out in this column format. Another one that I will show you is this weekly recap. I do these every week. This is for my private community, members in the community. They get this every week. And so I have a very similar process that I follow. I started with a quote, so I picked a quote, and I'll show you where I've got a bunch of them saved. But consistent. I have a routine down that I follow every single week, and I can track it right in here. Now, you may say to yourself, that's great, but I don't want to have to go into each one of these. I got you there too. If I want to focus on just what I have to do today, that I've put I can go to the today view. if I want to see today in the column format, I can. And you're seeing some of my routines in here. These are my habits. Remember, consistent routine. Write 1,000 words a day. From reading, capture key takeaways and insights from my reading. Read 10 pages. Some of you may have heard this, but read 10 pages of personal development a day. Do my evening prayer, do my evening Bible reading. Those are routines that are there and they show up every day. Some days I do them and don't check them off, but they're there and I see them. You'll see I've got daily planning and solitude. I left this here because I wanted you to see, clear out my inbox because I'm throwing things in here all day. And so once I've cleared that inbox out, they land here, I can check that off as done. Again, it's a daily routine. It's a consistent routine. It's simple. It's not overwhelming. And it's just a few things. So for example, here is a quote that I picked up and I wanted to put it in my quote list. So I'm going to move this, and you can see I can see the whole thing and some notes that I took as I saw it. So I want to move this out of my inbox and put it someplace else. So I'm going to move it to my weekly recap because that's where I will, and it went right here on the quotes tab because that's the first one. That's where I'm going to work on it at. And then I'm updating my planning template. So we'll talk about this later. I'm going to leave it here because this is really key. But I'm updating a planning template and I want to show you how I'm doing that and what I do with it later. So does this make sense to you, what you're seeing? Because if it makes sense to you, I want it to make sense to you. So just having a consistent routine. Okay? Yeah, Gretchen, I had that little switch on and it still wasn't scrolling. I have no idea. So I just went to the old-fashioned share your screen. I had set it up as a backup plan anyway, so we have no idea what it was doing. So that's number one. Develop a task management routine. You can do what I'm saying on paper. It doesn't have to be in an app, and it doesn't have to be in this app. But whatever your routine is for those areas that you consistently work in, it can be home, maintaining your home. I love the Fly Lady system. She uses 5 zones of your home and break down what to do daily, weekly, monthly. Those are routines. So you can use that and just map it into your daily plan, right? Yeah. Thank you, love that you always have a backup. I'm an IT geek. We love backups for everything. So let's move on to tip number 2. That is create templates. I said I would come back to this. Templates, 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 and more templates. In my business, in IT, as a program manager, engagement manager, we use templates for just about everything we do. And it made me get in the habit of creating as many templates as I can for those things, those activities, those responsibilities, those events that are routine and they happen over and over and over again. So let's go back to the screen. Let's go back to the right one. Okay. Is that the right one? No. Now I got 2 of these and I got to get to the right one. So I said I was working on a planning template. And I'm just using this as an example. But if you were going to work on a template like every week, you wanted to do something or a set of things. Sometimes you call this time blocking and time boxing. I'm going to get into that a little bit. But creating a template, like I know part of my routine every day is start up and shut down, right? But these are recurring small things that you do. Maybe you want to make your writing day on Tuesday. You do all your writing if you're a writer. Maybe you have a set of meetings. This is actually part of what I do. I have a set of weekly recurring meetings. On Monday, I'm preparing my agenda for each of those. I used to do them the day before. I've switched. and I've created a template for each of those meetings agendas, and I fill it in on Monday, and then I schedule an email, because in your email system you can pre-schedule emails going out. I write it, I schedule them, and I'm done for those recurring meetings for the week. All I got to do is show up for the meeting because the pre-work has been done and I've got them in templates. So this is an example where you can create a planning template, again, in whatever you use. It can be in a Google Doc, it can be in a Word doc. TickTick is great because you see I can type it out right here. You can put it in Apple Notes, you can put it in Apple Reminders, something that you already have. You can, my other love, Evernote. You can even put it in Evernote. And quite frankly, a lot of my templates are in Evernote already because I've had them there forever. So just keep creating templates. I've got a whole set of templates down here that, like, for example, when I bring on a guest, I'm filling that out. Planning meals, a meal plan, got that in there. Onboarding a new client, got that in there. And I'm moving these over out of another system so they're not completely fleshed out. So things like that. New client onboarding, that's routine. Put it in a template and go, right? Gretchen, you are a photographer and an artist. Perhaps there's a set of things you do before you take off and go out to go on a trip to do a shoot. Templatize it, and I'm almost sure you have just because you're a pro, but there you go. I'm just using you as a fellow template lover here. And you were a teacher too, so you know this really well. So templates are a great way to reduce your stress, help you make decisions faster, and get through routine work and routine recurring projects efficiently. Please forgive me. All of a sudden, my throat wants to act like it has dust in it. So that's number 2. Number 3 is reviewing and updating our task list. I talk about this a lot because it is so key to what we do. Reviewing our lists at least once a week, at a minimum once a week. I do mine on Saturday morning most weeks. Occasionally I'll change it, but for the most part, I do it on Saturday morning. And I've got a checklist, a set of templates that I follow every week to review my task list. But it looks something like this. I'll look through, if I've got a pile of things that I haven't processed in my inbox, I'll look through that and move them where they belong. I'll look through these projects up here and say, okay, I'm working on my website. Is there anything I need to do? Like, I've got to do a download here. When am I going to do that? I'll look these second one, Monday motivation, purposeful productivity, weekly recap. These are regular content creation activities that I follow, and I go through those and make sure I'm on track with them. So if I haven't gotten where I need to be for my Monday motivation, you see I got a lot of ideas in here for the week, so I released that video on Monday, then I know I need to catch up. So reviewing all of this stuff, and oh, I'm going to scare you because there is a view where you can see everything, and you can see the next 7 days, right? You can see today. You can filter this and just look at whatever criteria you want. But the key is review it every week. What I've witnessed is people will make a list, say, I want to do these things on Saturday. And they'll focus on what they want to do on Saturday. Or I want to do these things on Monday. And they'll focus on what they want to do on Monday. That works great for that day, but it doesn't allow you to see your week, your month, your quarter at a high level. So it may be that you're spending a lot of time doing things that you're going to look up and, oh my goodness, I needed to be working on this thing 3 weeks ago, and now it's due tomorrow, and I'm doing an all nighter. If you're doing your weekly review, you get a chance to catch that thing that's due in 3 weeks early, so that you're not doing, or at least you reduce the all nighters. I'm not going to say you completely get rid of them, but you significantly reduce them. And when I'm doing this, I'm also looking, are there things that I'm doing over and over again that I'm having to rewrite, rethink about, replan over and over again? That takes me back to step two, because then I look for, can I put this in a template or a checklist? Okay, if I do, let me start building it. Can I find a way to automate it or automate parts of it? Oh, yeah, I can. Let me do that. Let me give you an example of that. And I haven't moved it over to TickTick, but I will. Almost all of the routine tasks that I do, if they're not already in a template, and a lot of this has to do with communication, by the way, I have a text expansion snippet that will drop the first portion of the task name into my task manager or wherever I have the cursor sitting, and then I fill out like make a phone call from this phone number, because some phone calls I want to only make from some phone numbers. So make phone call to whoever from this phone number. I don't want to rewrite all of the make the call from this phone number over and over again. That's in a text expansion snippet, and then I just add the person's name and their phone number to it. So if I've got a bunch of those kinds of things, that's one way that you could automate. You could use the same thing with similar, using Apple Notes text expansion that's built in if you're not using a third party, and you're on a Mac. Let me say that. If you're on a Mac or you're on an iPhone or iPad, you could use the built-in capabilities within those devices to do the same thing. It won't be as flexible, but you can get it done. So, weekly review, huge. It gets your system clean. You start the week with, okay, I have a plan for the week. Back to your weekly plan. It's dialed in. I know what direction I'm going to go. And that reduces stress, it reduces overwhelm, and you've made the decision of what's important to you. So that's number three, moving pretty fast. Number four is allow time, allocate time slots in your calendar for these activities. Now, that may sound a little strange. I hope it doesn't. But allocating the time, remember I said I do my weekly review on Saturday morning. That's in my calendar. I've allocated the time to do it. If I need to move it for any number of reasons, I can, but I can actually see how much time did I allocate for this thing. Okay? I allocate 2 hours. Don't always need 2 hours, but I allocate 2 hours. I want it to be relaxing. I don't want to be stressed out. I want to have my cup of coffee or two. Yeah. And I want to just enjoy that time. It's a little bit of self care in there. But let me show you what this could look like in terms of adding it to your calendar. Again, going back to TickTick, it's one of the reasons. And did I? Yeah, I'm going to the wrong screen. Going back to TickTick. It has a calendar view. Right below my avatar, the second icon down is the calendar view. So I can see, now I've got this set up, once a day is passed, I don't want to see it. It's still on my regular calendar, and I have this linked to my regular Google Calendar. But if I want to put on here, for example, and I actually did something, but if I want to say I'm going to write during this period of time, I can just put it in here, writing. And I can't type, y'all, while you're writing, while you're watching me. But I'm going to write during that block of time. That's going to show up on my other calendar as well. So that's what I meant to do. It'll be there. Now, this is a trick. in this tool, if I look at the next 7 days, that writing is also in my task list. I didn't have to enter it twice. I didn't have to look around for it. It's just going to show up in there in this list, whether it's in the this row list or if it's in column view. It's going to show up on my list. Okay? Yeah, y'all see I'm doing vacuum in bedroom and all that stuff tomorrow. So you can allocate the time for those key tasks. Writing 1,000 words a day. If I give myself a half an hour to write 1,000 words or an hour, whatever I need, then I put it in my calendar. I do certain recurring tasks during the week at certain times. And that's allocating the space in my calendar, allocating the space to perform the slots to execute the work. I don't often go by how I feel. I won't say I won't ever, because I do occasionally. I rarely go by how I feel. Because if I went by how I felt, I would never do anything. So I look at these time slots, and there are two ways to look at it. One is time blocking. That's putting that hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes, whatever it is, on your calendar. But the other is time boxing. That is, I'm going to write for an hour, and in this hour, I'm going to get these 1,000 words. The time boxing is I've boxed myself into that hour to accomplish the goal. And it's literally looking at your calendar and allocating the space to do it. And what I've learned is this is more, I'm going to make an assumption here or make a generalization, and I'm going to say in my life what I've seen. It took me a long time to get to where I paid attention to how many hours it took me to do things when I wasn't on the work clock. Because I grew up, you weren't at work, you just kind of did things when you felt like doing them. What I realized is I wasted a lot of energy and a lot of time, and then I was frustrated. Then, when I got into making YouTube videos and starting the channel, it became even more important that I'm intentional about when I execute certain tasks. Because wasn't going to be up all night, and I wasn't going to be half of my day on Friday instead of doing what I was supposed to be doing at that time, preparing. So I've time blocked it. What I'm going to ask you to do is, if you have a question, I'm introducing just a little segment here to answer your question. So I want you, Ask the Productivity Coach is coming up here in a minute, and throw in your questions in the comments and I will answer them. If you don't have questions, we'll go home a little bit earlier. We'll go home a little bit earlier. Um, so if you have questions, let me know. Put them in the chat. But that's really what I have tonight is those 4 tips. Tip number 1, develop a task management routine. Tip number 2, create and use as many templates as you can possibly come up with. Tip number 3, take the time to review and update your task list every single week. Every week, 52 weeks a year. And number 4, allocate time slots. Allocate time on your calendar for you to execute those important tasks. That's it. That's all I got. If you have a question, I don't see any questions in the chat. I'm looking. Put a Q colon in front of it. I would love to see that. I'm going to give you a second to catch up. Okay. I am not seeing any questions from anybody. So I, I just got one. Well, thank you, ma'am. Let's see. Let's get a do do do. Here's the question. Do you put time in your schedule for filling out the schedule? That's part of my weekly review, right? So during my weekly review, I'm looking at what things do I need to make sure I've got slotted in. I'm checking my task. I'm doing all of that kind of stuff in that one little time block during the week. Now, I do have like, I spend like 5, 10 minutes every day. That's just making sure nothing went haywire and off the rails. But for the most part, it's in that Saturday morning when I get my cup of coffee, I curl up where I'm comfortable, and I'm going through my weekly review. That's when I do all of that. I don't I don't come back to it until the next Saturday. If that helps. And if you need more clarification, Gretchen, please ask because I'm really glad that you asked the question number one and gave me an opportunity to explain how I do this because it can feel like if we're not careful like it's overwhelming and it's taking too much time, but what it does is it reduces the time, as I say, me wandering around trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. I have a plan in front of me and I know exactly what I had planned to do, what I intended to do, what I wanted to get done day by day. And I'm not spending hours every day doing that. I spend a few minutes as a part of my startup at my day, like literally 5 minutes on a long day, 10 minutes, but usually about 5 minutes, just checking. Okay, yep, nothing changed. No meetings got canceled. Nothing else showed up on the calendar today at the last minute. And speaking of, for content creation in the business, I use automated Calendly, automated scheduler. So when someone wants to schedule time on my calendar, they get a link, they pick the date and the time, and I have parameters around that, like you can't schedule for in less than, like, say, 8 hours, or you can schedule 15 days ahead of time, or 60 days ahead of time, or 10 days ahead of time. And I need 15 minutes between appointments or 30 minutes between appointments. All of that is already dialed in, so I literally set it and forget it. And so when the person picks the time, and it's tied to my regular calendar. So even when something else is on the calendar, if I said those time slots are available, it's only going to show the person times in the blocks that I've set where nothing else is scheduled. So if I've got writing scheduled in there, I've got planning scheduled in there, I've got reading scheduled in there, I've got doing work around the house scheduled in there, taking my brother out for his birthday, just saying, right? Scheduled in there. Then, even though I may have those times saying, yeah, I'm available, they're booked already, so the person can't book over it. And that's the way I handle it. So external people scheduling anything with me, it's all handled without me having to do anything other than the person knowing where the link is, and more about that, but it's truly just on my website. And it's um, on FlorenceDonald.live. It says, I think, book a call with me, and the person goes right there and they can pick the time. Any other questions from anyone? I don't see any. Frank, you're saying thank you. I'm not sure what you're saying thank you for, but you're welcome, whatever that was for. All right, everybody. It is Good Friday. You all have a wonderful, wonderful Friday, rest of your Friday evening. Have a fantastic day tomorrow. And if you celebrate Resurrection Sunday, celebrate because it is such a special time. And yeah, I'm going to be up really early. We're having sunrise service at 6 o'clock in the morning. Y'all pray for me. This is going to be funny. I'm going to be stumbling around at 6 o'clock in the morning trying to prop my eyes open with toothpicks. Well, thank you, Gretchen. That is always a treat to hear my tips. I appreciate that. I just want to be useful. I want to be helpful and give you information. Some of it you may already know, but it's my perspective and it's really truly based on what I do, mistakes I've made, and things I have tried. It's I've read hundreds of books and blogs and listened to podcasts over the years, and I started doing this study when I was in middle school. And I won't tell you what floor I'm on, but I'm pretty high up there. And it's just years of practice, years and years and years of practice and doing and frankly teaching and coaching people professionally how to be productive. So that's all I've got for you all this evening. So we're going to get out of here. What I'm going to say to you is there's going to be a video. I'm doing it wrong. A video right here when the video for tonight finished processing. Watch that and enjoy the rest of your week.